Everybody talks about starting. No one talks about finishing, especially the last 10%. It's not just the hardest part, it's the graveyard of most dreams. First, the plateau of latent potential. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, calls it the plateau of latent potential. Early progress is visible, it feels rewarding, but as you get closer to mastery, progress hides. Most mistake this silence for failure, but as Clear explains, breakthroughs often lag behind the effort. Growth compounds silently before it explodes. Second, decision fatigue takes over. Psychologist Roy Baumeister's research on ego depletion shows that our willpower is like a muscle. By the time you hit 90%, it's not talent that fails you, it's decision fatigue. Thousands of choices, sacrifices, and doubts drain your mental fuel. Clarity collapses, purpose blurs. Third, the brain discounts delayed rewards. Behavioral economist James Mazur discovered a bias called delay discounting. Humans naturally prefer smaller, sooner rewards. The longer success takes, the less valuable it feels, even when it's inches away. At 90%, the brain whispers, is this even worth it anymore? Fourth, fear of unknown future. In the 1970s, psychologist Martina Horner introduced the concept of fear of success. Finishing a major goal forces you to become someone new, new responsibilities, new expectations. Some fear change more than they fear failure, so they stall or they sabotage. Fifth, the pain peaks before the breakthrough. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman and psychologist Barbara Fredrickson uncovered the peak and rule. We judge experiences by their worst moments and ending, and the final 10%, it always feels like the peak of struggle. That's why most can't carry the weight to the finish line. Sunk cost panic. Behavioral economist Hal Arks and Catherine Bloomer coined the sunk cost fallacy. The closer people get, the more they fear. What if all this effort wasn't worth it? They think quitting now might cut further losses, but in reality, they abandon at the brink of victory. Seventh, the discomfort of the final stretch. Herminia Ibarra, in her work on career transitions, found that the end stages of big goals often create an identity crisis. The beginning feels exciting, the middle becomes habit, but the end, it forces you to ask, who will I be after this? Most fear that more than failure itself. 8. The validation drop. Psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan explained that external rewards and validations naturally fade over time. By the final stretch, no one's cheering, no applause, no pats on the back. Most people quit because they crave external motivation, but finishing that's fueled by intrinsic drive. Ninth, the pain of success. Angela Duckworth's research on grit and Carol Dweck's work on the growth mindset reveal a simple truth. The relentless expect the plateau. They anticipate doubt, fatigue, and struggle. And when the pain peaks, they lean in. Not because it's easy, but because they planned for this moment. 10th, the myth of perfect timing. Behavioral scientists like Dan Ariely have shown that people often wait for an ideal moment to act, a myth called the planning fallacy. At 90%, many stall, thinking maybe later will be better. Maybe I need one more tweak. Maybe I'm not ready. But there is no perfect moment. The window for finishing is now, imperfect and raw. Waiting becomes the slowest form of quitting. Quitting at 90% doesn't mean you weren't good enough. It means you didn't expect the test. But the relentless, they see the finish line not as a reward, but as a gatekeeper. The last 10% filters out the crowd and lets the uncommon pass.